Happy Homebrew Wednesday. Just sitting here and brewing over the back there, brewing a porter. It's getting ready for winter. And it's raining, which is good. It was almost a drought. And yeah, it's just a great way to fill the day. Anyhow, what am I going to talk about this week? The SJ Pour Challenge was announced, with this year's emphasis being on brewing a beer that reflects your place, your community, where you're from, which is really interesting. It's really cool actually. I like it as a concept, as a theme to work with, and I think it's really going to change the nature of the competition a little bit this year, and by that I mean the notion of what they call place. So how do you reflect a place into a beer or any product for that matter? And I think what we're going to see this year is it's going to have to be more emphasis on the label, and I'll explain my thinking on that. Because if I just give you a beer, and let's just say, like, I give you this a New Zealand IPA, yeah, and it's got lots of New Zealand hops and New Zealand malt, and you drink it and you go, yeah, it's really tasty. I like the balance of the malt and to the hops, and it's really fruity and nice characteristics. Yeah, really nice sensory combination, and that's fine. But if you add another layer to that of complexity by saying, well, these hops come from this area, they're grown by this person, they treat them in this way, the malt comes from this area, it's harvested in a certain way, it's processed in a certain way, and actually I put some other adjuncts into the beer. I put some of these herbs which come from this creek and are only available at this time of year. There's more of a story to the product, and with that comes another layer of thinking about the beer. So I think what I mean by this is that I think this year the label will be more critical, because it will have to tell and communicate the story of the beer and the story of that place. If I, for instance, was just to brew you a little Scottish ale, and into my Scottish ale I might put, what would be something to be appropriate? Maybe, let's just say I put some raspberries in it, and then I aged it in some oak, just as a beer. But then if I said, well, the reason I did that was because I come from a place called Dunedin, and Dunedin was a city that was settled by the Scots. Oops, just missed, about to go low battery. It was settled by the Scots. Scottish ale has a history of a malt and some simple. What would happen during the malting process was that the grains that didn't germinate, the Scots would keep them, they'd roast them for a bit of colour and add a bit of flavour and add it back into the beer, kind of a frugal nature. And by that very choice, Dunedin at times can have aspects of being conservative, the people and the population. I may have then chosen to put it into some whiskey barrels, because being a Scottish city, we used to have some distilleries, which comes out of that Scottish heritage, and therefore that's why the Scottish ale went into the oak or the whiskey barrels to mature. And of course raspberries grow locally here, and of course there's that classic relationship, Scottish raspberries, and so all of a sudden it just moves beyond a beer which is Scottish ale aged in oak with some raspberries to something which has more of a brand story or an identity with it. And I think when you drink that, you go, aha, that's why they chose that, and that makes a lot of sense, and actually it almost can take you to that place. So I think that's going to be an aspect of the challenge that I don't know whether people have thought about, but I think that's what makes it really exciting, because otherwise it's just a beer which is, you like it because it tastes good or it doesn't taste good, and then it's really just personal preference, of which, yeah, it makes no sense. I mean, you know, an English beer in an English pub, if you've ever been to England, you sit in a pub and you have a warm, flat, you know, cask conditioned beer, it's appropriate, it's the place, it's the people, it's what they have. But if you're sitting here in New Zealand in the middle of summer and you get to serve that beer, it just doesn't, it's like it's devoid of place. So it's just a cloudy, flat, warm beer, which probably isn't really suitable. So anyhow, that's my thoughts on the SJ Pour Challenge. Like I said, super exciting. I think it is going to add a level of thought that we may not have even thought about before, which will make it super exciting. And that's why I think the label will be critical. Who knows? A lot of YouTubers are involved in the challenge, or brewtubers. Maybe there's going to be QR codes linked to videos explaining the story of the beer, the rationale, the reasoning behind it. But I think it's a key aspect of it, which takes the beer beyond just that of the sensory aspect, but into a more cerebral space. That's the terminology I want to use. Anyhow, that's enough. Deep and meaningful. I need to get back to my beer. I've got to rack my low gravity beer as well, and unfortunately I've chilled it down, but it's iced up. Forgot about that, didn't I? Yeah, less alcohol. But you guys have a happy Homebrew Wednesday, and I'll catch you next week. Things to think about. Happy Homebrew Wednesday. See you later.